Welcome to Field Notes, the monthly podcast of modern steel construction, the monthly magazine of AISC. I'm your host, Jeff Weisenberger, editor and publisher of Modern Steel Construction. Our guest this month is Ashley Thrall. Ashley is the Myron and Rosemary Noble Associate Professor of Structural Engineering at the University of Notre Dame in South Bend, and she directs the school's Kinetic Structures Lab. She's also one of AISC's 2 inaugural Innovation Scholars for 2024. So this is a new program that's designed to boost collaboration on a steel-focused project to be performed in collaboration with the Scholars University and involves a 2-week summer residency of sorts at AISC's headquarters here in Chicago. So Ashley, first of all, welcome. Secondly, thank you for being here. And then thirdly, congratulations on being an Innovation Scholar.
Thank you.
Let's start from the beginning. Can you talk a little bit about your youth? Where are you from? Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in a small town in Connecticut. My mom's an artist and my dad's a scientist, so he was a professor at the University of Connecticut. And so I grew up in a world of art and science together. Okay,
that's a great mixture. Was basically your entire youth there?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's cool. Science, art. When did structures, come into the picture? What got you into the, engineering side of things in the first place? Were there any specific buildings or bridges from your youth that inspired you?
I came into it later, so I don't think I really knew what engineering was.
Okay.
I went to Vassar College, which is a liberal arts school up in Poughkeepsie, New York. They don't have engineering at all, and I went and did a physics degree there, and at the same time, my mom taught me, we should always have an art class. I was always taking art classes, if that was printmaking, drawing, art history, to kind of keep that creative side in with all of the physics and the internships I did related to physics research and so on. And when I graduated, I was wanting that creativity with the science still.
Okay.
And so I did a little soul searching and eventually read Tower on the Bridge by David Billington, which is all about structural art, so structures that are very economic, minimum cost, thinking also long-term maintenance, efficient, meaning minimum use of materials, but then also very elegant. And that combination of the science and the art really brought me to engineering.
Okay.
And so I emailed him and said, could you take me on as a master's student? And I applied, and he took me on, and he taught me structural analysis in his office, one-on-one, which a person like that, just taking time out of his day to teach me that, to help catch me up so I could start in a graduate program was just amazing. So he's one of the great figures in my life.
That's an incredible story. So you get to actually meet the author of one of your
the book that brought me here.
That's amazing. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it's funny, we hear a lot of origin stories, so to speak, when it comes to engineering, and there's a lot of different ones, but a lot of people will talk about how they grew up like playing with Legos or such. But yeah, it's really cool to hear like these different ways that people get into it. Very cool. Did you work on the design side of things before getting into academia? Where you were like,
No, straight from the master's and PhD at Princeton to academia.
Okay.
And that comes from my father's influence that academia is the freedom of everything. So you get to study what you want to study. Get to work with young people all the time. It keeps you young. It's a very exciting environment. So seeing that growing up, that's as soon as I committed to engineering, that's where I eventually wanted to go.
Okay, that's good. So as far as being a professor, how long have you been with Notre Dame? Was this your first teaching position? Okay.
Yeah, and it started in 2011.
Okay, so a little while now. So going back to 2011, can you maybe describe a little bit what it was like being in front of a class for the first time as a professor?
Yeah, I think it was a new appreciation for all the professors that taught me. So I was the kid in the front of the class that would always ask tons and tons of questions. And so now seeing the other side of that, where you're now answering all the questions, is a very different feeling. So getting used to, guiding people, all the preparation that it takes to give even one lecture, you understand a new appreciation for that.
Yeah. Was it daunting, would you say, or is it really?
It was a lot of work.
Yeah,
first ones were a lot, and then you start getting into the rhythm of it, and then it gets easier and easier and more comfortable. Sure,
that's great. What do you teach now? What's your course load?
I teach statics in the fall for our sophomores, and then bridge engineering for our seniors/first year grad students in the spring.
Okay. Can you talk about a little bit about the Kinetic Structures Lab? We're talking about structures and how they move, basically, correct?
Yeah, so we're looking into the design and behavior of all kinds of moving, modular, rapidly deployable structures. So some of my projects have been in origami shelters using composite materials, so deployable shelters for the Army, for example, or 3D printed concrete. A lot of the work I'm doing also is in steel bridges, obviously, which is one of my interests in the AISC is. So I've done modular steel bridges and thinking about different ways to build those faster and better.
Okay. Can you maybe just tell me a little bit about the genesis of a research project? Is it somebody coming to you and saying, we need you to do this, or are you coming up with the ideas, or is it a little combination of both?
I've been very collaborative with industry, so I've been working a lot with different industry partners, and so learning what their problems are, but also coming up with my own ideas and the merging of that. And some things come up kind of organically. It depends on the project.
Okay. Do you have can you maybe tell me about one of your more memorable projects, either from huzzah, this is a fantastic, or oh my God, this was not what I expected?
I would say the sweet story for especially AISC is our built-up press brake form tub girders.
Okay.
So this was building off of the work that Carl Barth did on the press brake form tub girders made of one single plate of steel. We're looking at built-up sections where you have flat flanges bolted onto cold bent webs to go longer spans and to harness the internal redundancy that Rob Connor at Purdue has researched a lot. So we went from a concept to 2 built bridges in 4 years. So it was funded by Indiana Department of Transportation. And they were the ones, of course, who were willing to build 2 demonstration bridges. So that was a lot of research funding and also their investment in the bridges themselves. HNTB was the design team. So the impetus for all of this actually came out from the AISC Need for Speed initiative.
Sure.
So Ted Zoller from HNTB attended one of those workshops, and there was a lot of discussion with transmission pole manufacturers about how to bring adjacent industries into the steel market.
Okay.
And so Ted and I were doing a lot of work in bending of steel already at the time, and that kind of came together as this project.
Okay, excellent. Do you have, something that you're hoping to work on in the future, sort of like a dream steel research project?
So my time here as an innovation scholar, I'm trying to look at next steps. And and a lot of my work is done in modularity and thinking about redundancy as well. But that leads to very heavy solutions because you're designing for the worst case of everything, so it tends to be heavy on steel.
Okay.
If we're thinking about sustainability now, how does that fit into all of that mix? And so where's the sweet spot between sustainability and thinking minimum material use with the modularity and redundancy that I've already been working in? So that's why I'm here, why I want to think about new ideas and where to go next.
Okay, great. Yeah, I definitely want to talk just a little bit about the Innovation Scholar Program. But one more thing, just related to school. Do you have like a kind of go-to bit of advice for students that are starting their engineering careers?
I would say have open ears and you can learn something from everybody. So on my research projects, I've been out in the field and learned a lot from iron workers or bridge painters or anybody. Just pick people's brains to learn new things because you're going to see different perspectives and lose the ego and learn as much as you can from everybody.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Lose the ego, right? No, that's perfect. You're right. You can get information from anybody, useful information. So when it comes to the Innovation Scholar Program, can you tell me a little bit about what first attracted your attention to it and maybe what you've been doing just over the last couple of weeks here at AISC?
So I learned about it, I think, through your emails, and then I also attended the education luncheon at the Steel Conference. So I learned about it from both of those things, and I thought, that's a great opportunity to learn more from industry. A lot of my best projects have been very collaborative with industry, so this would set up a bigger network for that. And I'm actually on a teaching sabbatical for the next year. So I took this as a launching off point to come up with new ideas and then be able to work on these throughout the year.
Okay.
So that's what excited me about it. It was great timing and good opportunity to get to know AISC.
Cool. So as far as this year-long sabbatical, are you planning any travels, anything like that, or is it just going to kind of hunker down at home, so to speak?
Based at home, but research visits and attending more meetings and conferences. And so this would be the first of that.
I always like to ask people, first of all, do you like to travel?
Yes.
Okay, great. Most people say yes to that. Every now and then somebody says no. But do you have I don't know if you have a priority list or if you take more of a shotgun approach to travel, but do you have something that's a place that's currently towards the top of your to-go list?
Yeah, the top of that list lately has been Easter Island. I want to see those giant sculptures. And this goes back to my foundation with my mom and art and creativity and all the engineering that had to go into building those that no one really even understands. I think they've started to do studies on how they built them. But I'd love to go there.
Okay.
That's a hard trip to plan, but
I was gonna
it's
say,
on the list.
I don't. That's a great one though. You're right. I don't. I mean, I've looked at it on a globe and on a world map, and it's out there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like the easiest place to get to.
Yeah.
But no, I'm sure you'll get there. Yeah, like you said, it's a perfect culmination of art and engineering. So you've been in South Bend since 2011. You said.
Mm-hmm.
What do you enjoy most about it? And is there any? I mean, aside from going to a Notre Dame football game, do you have suggestions for people traveling there?
Well, I guess up by the university. It's like working in a park, and a lot of innovative people there.
Very cool. That wraps up another edition of Modern Steel Construction's monthly Field Notes podcast. Again, our guest this time around is Ashley Thrall from the University of Notre Dame, and I'm your host, Jeff Weisenberger. Thanks for listening, everyone.